Public outcry abounds as CCP seizes money post-third plenum. CCP press conferences face wave of criticism, collectively overturned after third plenum. Typhoon Gamei moves north, 12 dead, several missing in Hunan, 150,000 evacuated in Liaoning. Discontent pervades Chinese society, Xi-style depression becomes buzzword. Zhongnanhai atmosphere Eerie, Minister of Public Security holds multiple meetings without mentioning Xi. Falun Gong practitioner, I escaped the fate of live organ harvesting. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Public outcry abounds as CCP seizes money post-third plenum. 2 months ago, the CCP launched a large-scale plan to rescue the housing market, urging the central bank to support local state-owned enterprises in acquiring unsold commercial housing, known as acquisition and storage. A report by Huatai Securities on July 21 revealed that at least 20 cities, including Hengshui, Xinjiang, Guangzhou Xinjiang, and Kunming, have detailed their acquisition and storage processes, setting some acquisition prices at less than 50% of local commercial housing prices. The government claims to be rescuing the housing market, but the result is a half-price buyback, which fails to save developers and further lowers housing prices in nearby communities. Netizens mockingly said, "This is not 50% off, this is a fracture, it's too hard for ordinary people, they're at the mercy of others, this is not good news for commercial housing either." Additionally, the decisions announced at the third plenary session of the 20th Central Committee on the 21st forecast a series of money-grabbing actions, including allowing local governments to expand their powers, increase tax types on the populace, and promote reforms in water, energy, and transportation prices, implying that water, electricity, and gas fees will all increase comprehensively. They are also pushing for the reform of delaying the legal retirement age. Some say that the pension contributions that Chinese people are currently paying might be in vain, and in extreme future scenarios, people might have to work for their entire lives. Taiwan's chief economist Wu Jialong stated to the Epoch Times on the 26th that the current financial gap is too large. The first thing the CCP authorities need to do is grab money, applying bandit and robber logic to the fiscal and economic system. Even if you have no money, the CCP will find ways to make you cough it up, otherwise, they will accuse you of violating laws and confiscate your property. According to Wu, currently, China's consumption, investment, and import and export have all lost momentum. Now the real economy is facing an unemployment crisis, a real estate crisis, and a deflation crisis. In the financial sector, there are debt crises, capital outflow crises, and confidence crises. There are 6 crises in total across 2 sectors. Any single crisis breaking out is hard to handle, but now all 6 crises are happening simultaneously. The CCP really can't find a solution. Now the CCP authorities' effort is just to hold on for as long as possible. Due to the central government's lack of money, Wu Jialong believes that in the future, the central government is likely to delegate power and profits to local governments, allowing them to fend for themselves. After local governments fend for themselves, it is very likely to evolve into local separatism similar to the late Qing dynasty, ultimately leading to regional splits. Wu predicts that the CCP will continue to impose disguised taxes while printing large amounts of money, which, combined with strengthened control, will lead to phenomena historically seen in the late stages of dynasties: disguised taxes, large-scale money printing, inflation, people struggling to survive, officials forcing people to rebel, and peasant uprisings. These are all phenomena of regime change and the late stages of a dynasty. The Taiwanese Economist also predicts the possible path to the collapse of the CCP regime, various crises forcing people to tighten their belts, leading to deflation, followed by financial collapse, and finally fiscal collapse, which will lead to the downfall of the CCP. He said, "Given the current situation, it is very difficult for the CCP to avoid these phenomena seen in the late stages of dynasties." CCP press conferences face wave of criticism, collectively overturned after third plenum. China's economy continues to deteriorate, with rising unemployment making life increasingly difficult for the populace. Instead of addressing the issues, the CCP authorities continue to cover up and deceive. On July 23, the Ministry of Human Resources and Social Security of the CCP held its second quarter press conference. At the conference, Deputy Director of the Employment Promotion Division, Zhongnanhai, claimed that in the first half of this year, overall employment for college graduates and other young people remained stable, and employment for migrant workers saw steady progress. These statements drew sharp criticism and mockery from netizens, with some saying, "Utter nonsense with a sanctimonious facade," and "They know we know they are lying but continue to lie anyway." On July 24, the State Council Information Office of the CCP held a series of thematic press conferences on promoting high-quality development. Han Jun, secretary of the party leadership group of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, claimed that in the first half of the year, the per capita disposable income of rural residents was 11,272 yuan, approximately $1,555, an increase of 6.6% year-on-year, 2.1 percentage points higher than the growth rate of urban per capita income. Netizens also heavily criticized these statements, saying, "Utterly shameless, lying without blushing, that's how they are." Many rural netizens pointed out that what the CCP officials said is severely inconsistent with the actual situation. This year, disasters have been severe, there has been no bountiful harvest, and with difficulty finding work, how could income have increased? One enraged netizen even said, "Hearing his speech makes me want to beat him to death." On July 25, the National Healthcare Security Administration of the CCP released the 2023 National Healthcare Security Development Statistical Bulletin, claiming that the overall operation of our country's healthcare security system is stable, and the fund's operation is safe and sustainable. This also drew sharp criticism from netizens. Typhoon Gamei moves north, 12 dead, several missing in Hunan, 150,000 evacuated in Liaoning. Typhoon Gamei struck Taiwan before making landfall in China, with its residual circulation extending as far as Beijing and Jilin, bringing disasters to central and southern China. Chinese media reported that at 8:18 a.m. on July 28, a mudslide triggered by a mountain torrent engulfed a guest house in Yuelin Village, Shuyue Township, Nanyue District, Hengyang City, Hunan. Currently, it is known that 21 individuals are buried, 3 more than initially reported by the guest house operator. As of noon today, 18 individuals have been rescued, with 12 confirmed deceased and 6 injured, and at least 3 people remain buried. Typhoon Gamei caused record-breaking rainfall in parts of Hunan province. The Pingshur observation station in Zixing City logged a 12-hour maximum rainfall of 487.5 mm, and the Shuili station recorded a 24-hour maximum of 670 mm, both setting new records. In the northeast, Liaoning province experienced heavy to very heavy rainfall this morning due to the residual circulation of Typhoon Gamei. The Liaoning Provincial Meteorological Observatory issued a yellow heavy rain warning on the 27th. By 5 p.m. of the same day, 30,904 people had been evacuated to safe locations. On July 28, the Jilin Provincial Meteorological Observatory upgraded their heavy rain yellow warning to orange. The Jilin Provincial Water Resources Department also raised its mountain flood disaster risk warning from yellow to orange. At 4 p.m., the Jilin provincial government initiated a Level 2 emergency response for flood and typhoon prevention in the Yalu River Basin due to water levels exceeding the warning line. According to Xinhua, the China Railway Beijing Group announced today that some trains on the Beijing-Harbin and Tianjin-Qinhuangdao high-speed railways, as well as several conventional lines, are temporarily suspended due to the weather conditions. Besides the mentioned provinces and cities, northeastern Guangdong has experienced heavy rains since the 26th. By noon on the 27th, 115,761 individuals across the province had been evacuated, including 97,856 from Meizhou City alone. Additionally, a tornado damaged homes in Xiangshan Village, Guantong Town, Xiangqiao District, Chaozhou City, at around 6:40 p.m. on the 26th. Chinese meteorological agencies forecast that in the coming days, regions including Hunan, Hubei, Jiangxi, Guangdong, Guangxi, Yunnan, Hunan, Shandong, Hebei, Tianjin, Liaoning, and Jilin will face heavy rain risks, necessitating vigilance for potential secondary disasters. Discontent pervades Chinese society. Xi-style depression becomes buzzword. Following the conclusion of the CCP's 20th Central Committee's third plenary session, a new term has emerged in China, Xi-style depression, reflecting widespread public concern about the economy. On July 27, Radio Free Asia reported that apart from the stagnant real estate sector in the first half of the year, nearly 7,000 well-known brands and large shopping malls have shut down. This includes Shanghai's landmark Meilong Town Isetan Department Store, Yonghui Supermarket, RT Mart, Luckin Coffee, Mishu Bingqing, and others. Corporate information website Tianyan Cha reveals that while approximately 1.35 million new catering businesses were established, over 1.05 million closed down, meaning for every new store, 0.8 stores disappeared. This wave of business closures highlights a severe lack of consumer spending power. Millions are unemployed, and those with jobs face salary cuts or have previously issued wages and bonuses reclaimed. Unemployment benefits have been slashed, and bank savings are dwindling as the 6 major banks announce further reductions in fixed deposit interest rates. This mounting despair has fueled a surge in the Social Security cutoff wave. The CCP shows no intent to rescue the economy, leading to a 4-day consecutive fall in the Shanghai and Shenzhen stock markets post-plenary session. Radio Free Asia notes that the discontent spreading across China has birthed terms like Xi Jinping-style depression. Mr. Guan Yao, a member of the U.S. Dialogue China Council, argues that the Beijing regime places so-called national security above economic concerns, ignoring the people's livelihoods, which is the primary reason for China's economic downturn. Mr. Wan Rennan, founder of the former Beijing Sidong Company, comments that Xi Jinping is accelerating regression. Mr. Wan told Radio Free Asia, Xi Jinping is calling to move forward, but in reality, he is in reverse gear, returning to a planned economic system, going back to the Cultural Revolution era. Historically speaking, China keeps repeating the same mistakes, and Xi is now on this path. In this situation, the entire Chinese economy cannot escape the current predicament. China is now in garbage time, the overall trend is gone. Zhongnanhai atmosphere Eerie, Minister of Public Security holds multiple meetings without mentioning Xi. Following the CCP's 20th Central Committee's third plenary session, various central institutions have been quick to declare their commitment to studying the session spirit, often heaping praise on CCP leader Xi Jinping. However, statements from Public Security Minister Wang Xiaohong have diverged from this pattern, prompting speculation. On July 24, Xinhua News Agency reported that Wang Xiaohong, Secretary of the Secretariat of the Central Committee and Minister of Public Security, was in Guizhou to research public security reform. He emphasized the need to thoroughly study and implement the spirit of the CCP's third plenary session and strengthen the CCP's absolute leadership over public security work. Yet, the entire report conspicuously omitted any mention of Xi Jinping's name. Just one day after the third plenary session concluded, on July 19, the CCP's Ministry of Public Security Party Committee held a meeting to convey and study the session's communiqué. According to the Ministry of Public Security's website, the meeting stressed the importance of thoroughly studying and implementing the spirit of the third plenary session, but once again, Xi Jinping and Xi Jinping thought were noticeably absent from the report. Overseas commentator Zhou Xiaohui, writing for the Epoch Times, analyzed this situation. According to the CCP convention, major meetings are typically followed by a show of loyalty from central to local party and government agencies. The CCP's 20th Central Committee's third plenary session was no exception, with the official line being to convey and study the spirit of the third plenary session. Mr. Zhou Shelby points out that Wang Xiaohong, as a close confidant of Xi Jinping, has made statements after the third plenary session that are strikingly different from his usual approach. In the past, Wang would always begin by emphasizing Xi Jinping's instructions or discussions on various topics before addressing local public security requirements. Mr. Zhou notes that thoroughly studying and implementing Xi Jinping had become a staple phrase for Wang Xiaohong during his research visits. Yet recently, Wang Xiaohong has conspicuously deviated from this norm. Having served in the public security system in Fujian province for a long time, Wang Xiaohong has had a close relationship with Xi Jinping since Xi's tenure in Fujian. After she assumed power in 2012, Wang rapidly ascended the ranks, now serving as Secretary of the Secretariat of the Central Committee, State Councillor, and Minister of Public Security. He also served as Secretary and Director of the Ministry of Public Security's Special Service Bureau from 2019 until March 2023. The CCP's Ministry of Public Security is considered the knife handle for maintaining stability, and the Special Service Bureau is responsible for protecting the top CCP officials. Commentator Zhou Shelby suggests that Xi's appointment of Wang Xiaohong indicates a preference for entrusting his security to someone he trusts and knows well, also aiming to guard against internal party threats. Yet, official CCP reports reveal that in Wang Xiaohong's multiple statements and meetings following the third plenary session, there has been no mention of Xi Jinping or Xi Jinping thought. Mr. Zhou believes this is very unusual and strange. Falun Gong practitioner, I escaped the fate of live organ harvesting. Mrs. Bao Xuezhen, a former state-owned enterprise engineer, faced an illegal sentence of 3 years and 6 months in China for practicing Falun Gong. Recently, she revealed 2 harrowing experiences in prison, stating that she narrowly escaped becoming a victim of forced organ harvesting. Once a state enterprise engineer, Mrs. Bao's health was failing, leaving her nearly paralyzed. In 1995, she began practicing Falun Gong, which transformed her physical and mental health. However, due to the CCP's persecution of Falun Gong practitioners, Mrs. Bao Xuezhen was sentenced in June 2001 to 3 years and 6 months, serving her time in Shanghai Women's Prison. After her release, she moved to Denmark in 2007. Recently, she publicly shared her prison experiences. In the first half of 2003, Shanghai Women's Prison suddenly ordered all Falun Gong practitioners to undergo physical examinations. She recalls, "We were lined up for examinations when 4 vehicles arrived. They checked height, blood type, and drew blood using unusually large tubes. They also conducted gynecological exams, ultrasounds, and checks on the heart, liver, and lungs. Guarded by police, each practitioner was taken onto the vehicles individually. During her examination, the doctor seemed displeased." Mrs. Bao recounted. The doctor was very surprised and called several police officers and other doctors. He said, "This person is useless, it's a mess inside." They exchanged looks, asked me how I felt under my ribs, and when I said nothing, they let me go. This wasn't an isolated incident. Prisons, labor camps, and detention centers across China routinely conducted systematic blood tests and organ examinations on Falun Gong practitioners, unlike with other prisoners. Blood tests are crucial for organ transplant matching. The peak of the CCP's persecution of Falun Gong coincided with a surge in organ transplants in China. Multiple independent investigations have revealed that the CCP collects data on Falun Gong practitioners and forcibly harvests their organs for transplants. A few days after the physical examination, police singled out Mrs. Bao, claiming they needed to examine her eyes. She said, "I asked why since my eyes were fine. They insisted and took me to a booth at the prison gate. I waited for about 20 minutes, overhearing them say my eyes were very bright. When the car didn't arrive, they called it off and took me back to my cell. In 2006, a nurse named Annie testified that the Sujiatan district's Liaoning provincial thrombosis hospital detained large numbers of Falun Gong practitioners, forcibly harvesting their organs and incinerating the bodies. Annie's ex-husband, a chief surgeon, personally harvested corneas from 2,000 living Falun Gong practitioners. At the time, Mrs. Bao Shuizhen was unaware of forced organ harvesting. She only noticed that some practitioners disappeared after physical exams. She learned about these crimes only after her release. She said, "Later, I called a doctor in Taizhou Hospital, inquiring about a kidney for a relative. They suggested Shanghai or Zhejiang, mentioning they had fresh Falun Gong organs. Through this call, I realized that forced organ harvesting had been happening for a long time." Now, after 17 years in Denmark, Mrs. Bao Shuizhen reflects on her near escape from organ harvesting. To expose the CCP's crimes and stop the persecution, she has participated in investigations and continually informs others about the truth of the persecution. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.